Today I want to talk about the coronary circulation for the heart, and after that I want to show you a video about sheep heart dissection. Today we have dissection and we don't have any heart in our hand, so I want to show you a video for this dissection. But before I start talking about heart dissection, I want to show you the heart and the coronary circulation. The first thing which you need to know about the heart is this. The heart is the organ which can pump blood for the other organs and for the other parts of our body. The blood which is located in the chambers of our heart cannot be used by the heart muscle wall. So our heart wall needs the blood vessels to carry oxygen and nutrient to the heart muscle, because your heart muscle wants to go to contraction about 70 to 80 times per each minute. So we need lots of energy for our heart muscle, and the energy should come from aerobic ATP production. So our heart muscle need oxygen. And the blood vessel which can carry blood to our heart wall are called coronary blood vessels. And we have two groups of blood vessels. We have coronary arteries and coronary veins. First, I want to talk about the coronary artery. Look, you can see these blood vessels which are located on the surface of our heart. The first blood vessels which come out of our aorta are called right and left coronary arteries. This is the right coronary artery, and in the other side you can see the left coronary artery. So, right coronary artery, let me label it for you. Right coronary artery and left coronary arteries are the first arteries which come out of our ascending aorta. The right one goes to the right side of the heart, and the left one goes to the left side of our heart. I told you that on the surface of our heart we have some depressions, we have some sulcus or some grooves, and these depressions are the location of the coronary blood vessels. In the normal situation, in the body of human or in the body of animal, these grooves are covered by adipose tissue, and this adipose tissue protects the blood vessels which we have here. So this yellow color which you can see here are the adipose tissue which cover these coronary blood vessels. So this is the right coronary artery and this is the left. First, I want to talk about the left branch. The left branch, which is located in the back of our pulmonary trunk, comes to coronary sulcus, and then it divides into two branches. One of them is this one, which is located in the anterior interventricular sulcus. This coronary artery is called anterior interventricular artery, as you see it here. So anterior interventricular artery is located in anterior interventricular sulcus. And after that, the other artery, which we call it circumflex artery, starts to turn around our heart and go to the back of the heart. So, the left coronary artery detached from our ascending aorta from its left side. It's located behind the pulmonary trunk, as you see here, and it can make two branches. One of them is this one, which we call it anterior interventricular artery, which is located in anterior interventricular sulcus. And the other one, turn around the heart, coronary sulcus, and we call it circumflex artery. But what about the right side? The right coronary artery detached from our ascending aorta from its right side. It's located in the coronary sulcus. In the right border of our heart, or in the medial border of the heart, it makes one branch. This branch, let me mark it purple, this branch is called right marginal artery. So the right marginal artery is located in the right margin of our heart. And then this right coronary artery turn around the heart and go to the back of the heart. This is the right coronary artery in the back of the heart. In the back of the heart, it comes to posterior interventricular sulcus. And this branch is called posterior interventricular artery, as you see it here. So we have many coronary arteries in our heart, but you only need to know the name of the ones which I highlight them here for you. So the right coronary artery, which you have it here, come out of ascending aorta from right side, come out of ascending aorta from its right side, sorry. It comes to the coronary sulcus. It makes one branch in the right border of our heart. We call it right marginal artery. And then it turn around the heart and go to the back of the heart. This right coronary artery go to posterior interventricular sulcus. And in this part, we call this artery posterior interventricular artery. So these are the coronary arteries. Again, left coronary artery is here. It's in the back of pulmonary trunk, and this is the right coronary artery. The left coronary artery makes anterior interventricular and circumflex, and the right coronary artery makes right marginal, and in the back of our heart, it makes posterior interventricular artery. So these are the branches of coronary arteries. And as you see here, each part of your heart can be nourished by different branches. Who can tell me why it's like this? For example, imagine that I have a group of cells in this part, and as you see here, this artery can nourish my black dot. This artery can nourish it, and also this one. Why do I have so many branches for different parts of our heart?
I believe one is blocked or has a clot in it. The other ones will take over the supply so that the place doesn't.
Exactly. When one of these arteries are blocked, when one of these arteries have clot inside, the other arteries can supply that specific part. And you see that when we have some heart problem and we go to doctor, the cardiologist tells us about 40% of your coronary arteries are blocked, but still we are alive. 40% of our coronary arteries may be blocked, but because we have the other branches which can nourish that specific part, we can live. So they can do a process which we call it angioplasty. They insert a probe in each of these coronary arteries, and they can open that specific artery, or sometimes they need to get some branches from our lower limb or our leg and implant it here instead of these coronary arteries when the clot inside that blood vessel is too large. Yes, what is your question?
Does it give you the same amount of life as a person that would have like a normal heart?
I can't hear you.
Does it give like a normal amount of lifetime than if someone that hasn't had any issues with their heart?
Maybe some of us with normal life and with normal functioning have some clot inside our blood vessels, but sometimes the amount of clot in the blood vessels of heart increase and increase. One side of our heart cannot receive enough oxygen, and then infarction take place. When we have infarction, at that time we can have some surgeries to remove all of these clots. I don't know if I can answer your question or not.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, Regina, what is your question?
In which groove is the circumflex artery? Which groove or sulcus?
The circumflex artery is located in the coronary sulcus. Coronary sulcus is the sulcus which turn around our heart. This is one part of this sulcus and this is the other part, and it continues in the back of our heart too. So this line which circle our heart all around is called coronary sulcus, and the circumflex artery is located in the coronary sulcus. Okay, sure. The next part is about the veins. You need to know the name of 4 major coronary veins on the surface of our heart. One of them is located in anterior interventricular sulcus. One of them is located here, the blue blood vessel which you can see here. This blood vessel, which is located in anterior interventricular sulcus, is called great cardiac vein. So let me mark it for you here, the great cardiac vein. The other one are located in the back of our heart. One of them is located in the posterior interventricular sulcus, this blue vein. We call it middle cardiac vein. So middle cardiac vein is located in posterior interventricular sulcus, and great cardiac vein is located in anterior interventricular sulcus. The other 2 are located in coronary sulcus. One of them is in the back of the heart, in right side, and the other one still is in the back of the heart, but in left side. The one which you can see in the right side is smaller than the one which you have in the left side. So the right one is called a small cardiac vein. This is a small cardiac vein. And the other one on the other side is this one. We call it coronary sinus. And let me mark it here for you. We call it coronary sinus. So you need to know the name of 4 veins on the surface of your heart. One of them is the great cardiac vein in anterior surface. One of them is middle cardiac vein in posterior surface, and you have it in posterior interventricular groove. Then you can see the small cardiac vein and the coronary sinus. And who can tell me the coronary sinus open to which chamber of our heart? Do you remember?
The right atrium.
Yes,
Yes, the
the
right atrium.
coronary sinus open in the right atrium of the heart. It carry the oxygenated blood of our heart muscles and bring this deoxygenated blood to our right atrium. So this is about the coronary circulation which we have for our heart. And now I just want to show you our slides again.
Professor, please, before you remove this picture, heart coloring, the coronary sinus is actually mislabeled as small cardiac vein. Should we cross it out and write in the right one?
Yes, if there is a problem on it, you can correct it.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Okay, so this is the heart which we worked on it before. Here you can see the anterior interventricular sulcus. In anterior interventricular sulcus, you have one artery and one vein. Number 18 is anterior interventricular artery, and number 17 is great cardiac vein. They are neighbors. Both of them are located in anterior interventricular groove, and pay attention, the anterior ventricular artery is the branch of your left coronary artery, which is here. And look at here, this is the right coronary artery, which come out of your ascending aorta from its right side. And this is the left side of your heart, and in this left side, you can see the circumflex artery. This is the circumflex artery. The circumflex is the branch of the left coronary artery. And this is the back of the heart. In the back of the heart, you have these two veins. One of them is smaller, we call it a small cardiac vein. One of them is larger and thicker, and we call it coronary sinus. In the back of your heart, you have posterior interventricular sulcus. And in this sulcus, you have posterior interventricular artery and middle cardiac vein. And this is the right side of the medial view of the heart. In this medial view, you have the number 9, which is the right coronary artery. In the right margin of the heart, you can see number 10, which is marginal artery, which come out of right coronary artery. And this one is the small cardiac vein. So these are blood vessels which you have on the surface of the heart. Any questions on the human heart?
Yes, Professor.
Yes,
But it's not the veins. What's the exact function of the auricles?
the auricles are the chambers which can store a little amount of blood. It's the extra chamber for our atrium, and it can store a little amount of blood, about 25 milliliter of blood. When I talk about physiology of the heart, you will understand it better. When the veins bring blood back to our heart, a small amount of blood go to auricle and store there. And when the atrium and auricle go to contraction, all of this blood can come down to the ventricles.
Thank you.
Any other question? Okay, now I want to show you a video. This is a YouTube video. I posted two videos for you on your Blackboard, and I want to project one of them here for you, and you can see the other one at home.
Of both the sheep heart as well as.
Do you have sound and the video, both of them?
Yes.
Okay. Before I show you this video, just I want to tell you something about the sheep heart. We have one differences. Right now I want to talk only about one of them. One difference between the human heart and the sheep heart. Do you remember in human heart we have ascending aorta which comes up and then it makes aortic arch, and after that we have descending aorta. From the aortic arch, who can tell me how many branches do we have?
3.
3 branches. Can you name them for me?
There is the brachiocephalic.
One of them is brachiocephalic, yes.
Left common carotid artery.
Left common carotid, yes.
Left subclavian artery.
And left subclavian artery. So this is the human heart. Here you can see the ascending aorta and the aortic arch, and after that descending aorta. And from the aortic arch we have 3 branches. One of them is brachiocephalic, one of them is left common carotid, and the other one is left subclavian. In the sheep heart, in the most of the animals, the branches which we have from aortic arch are only 2 branches. So if this is the heart of sheep, you can see the ascending aorta which comes up, then aortic arch, and after that the descending aorta. And from the aortic arch, you have 2 branches. The first one, this one, is brachiocephalic, and the other one is called left subclavian artery. So, as you see here, we don't have left common carotid from the aortic arch. The left common carotid come out of brachiocephalic. So this is a difference which we have between human heart and sheep heart. And in video, you can see these differences. So look at the video.
The human heart model. So regions, this would be the apex, and across the top would be the base. Apex, and across the top is the base. Pointing at this, you can see that there is an auricle here, this little pouch that fills up when the atria fill up. And here's the other pouch here. These are the auricles. And because this is oriented so that if it's your patient facing you, this is the left side of the heart, and this over here is the right side of the heart. Therefore, this would be the left atrium, the left auricle, and this would be the right auricle. And you also notice here that this has been dissected here. This is the pulmonary trunk. That way you can get to the see the pulmonary valve. And then you have a frontal cut to open it up, to be able to open and see the 4 chambers and the anatomy inside, just like you would see it in a textbook. So just to begin with the 4 chambers, you have the right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, left ventricle. And you wonder, okay, well, what separates the atrium from the ventricle? Well, you have this atrioventricular valve. So this one over here would be the tricuspid, and this here would be the bicuspid. There's 3 cusps here, and there are 2 cusps on this side. Or you can call this the right atrioventricular valve, and this is the left atrioventricular valve. And there's also a third name for this, which is the mitral valve. So mitral valve, bicuspid, or the left atrioventricular valve. This is the right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, left ventricle. These atrioventricular valves are also attached to chordae tendineae, which are then attached to papillary muscles. So here's a papillary muscle here. This is the chordae tendineae, these tendinous cords, and those tendinous cords are then attached to the atrioventricular valves that you see here. Quite large, and therefore they're easy to blow backwards when the pressure increases. Therefore, you need these strings to prevent the from escaping the wrong way when the ventricles are in systole. You also have this septum here. This is the interventricular septum. You have your ventricles here. So this is from here to here is the interventricular septum. And then from here to here is your interatrial septum. So that's this structure here. You also have 3 layers. You have the epicardium, this thin epicardium, and then this thick myocardium, and then you have a very thin layer on the inside, which is the thin endocardium. So 3 layers of the heart. Careful, because the probe could be pointing here. If the question is name the chamber, then that would be the right ventricle. But if the question is name the layer, that would be the endocardium.
Pay attention, the difference between a wall of right and left ventricle. The wall of the left ventricle is 3 times thicker than the wall of right ventricle. So pay attention to these differences.
You also have these plate-like structures within the muscle, and that's trabeculae. So you have trabeculae, that's the plate-like structures. You have the chamber, and you also have the layer. So three questions could 3 different answers could be for 3 different questions, all pointing to the same thing. Just like this, name the structure, that's the interventricular septum, but name the layer, that would be myocardium. And so then blood will then flow from here to here, and it'll go up and across. If you take the probe and you stick it like this, it will come out of the pulmonary trunk. So here's the pulmonary trunk. Therefore, the probe is actually going through the pulmonary valve, which you see here. Pulmonary valve. It's small, so it's much harder to see than these very large atrioventricular valves. And then the blood will then exit and go out the left and right pulmonary arteries, go to the lungs, come back, and through the left and right pulmonary veins, now oxygenated, and then it will enter this chamber, then this chamber, and then it'll go up through this valve that you right here. This is the aortic valve. And the aortic valve is small, just like your pulmonary valve, therefore you don't see any strings attached to it. These are also called semilunar valves. So this would be the left semilunar valve, or you can call it the aortic valve because it leads to the aorta. And you can call this one the right semilunar valve, or pulmonary valve, because it leads to the pulmonary trunk. So therefore, this vessel here then would be, you do this, you look up, therefore that would be the aorta. This vessel here, pulmonary trunk. And then one more, you see here the right auricle, and attached to that you have this vessel here, there it is, and that is the superior vena cava. The superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava would bring blood into the right atrium. So there could be a lot of questions. Here's the pectinate muscle. Pectinate muscle, which is on the underside of the underside of the auricle, pectinate muscle. You have papillary muscle, you have myocardium, and then you have these plate-like structures, which is the trabeculae. Now, if we move this out of the way and take a look at the human heart model, here we have the aorta once again. Here's the aorta. Here's the superior vena cava, bringing blood down this way. And if we flip it around, we have the inferior vena cava right here. Inferior vena cava and the superior vena cava. And going across, just like we saw before, that's your pulmonary trunk. Trunk just means short vessel. Here is the right auricle. Open it up. There's the pectinate muscle. And here is the left auricle. Open it up, and then the regions. This is the apex, and then across top here, this is the base going around. Open this up, and now we see the four curves. This here would be the right atrium, and then below the valve here, this would all be the right ventricle. And then up here, this would be underneath the left auricle then would be the left atrium. You can kind of, imagine up here. And then this large chamber here would then be the left ventricle. Here's a papillary muscle. Here are your chordae tendineae, all this. This would be your tricuspid valve, and this is your bicuspid valve. Your right atrioventricular valve and your left atrioventricular valve. This valve here leads to the pulmonary trunk, so this must be your pulmonary valve, or you can call it the right semilunar valve. And then pointing the heart, orienting it like this, you can actually see the other one. This is now the left semilunar valve, or you can call it the aortic valve, because it leads to the aorta. superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, aorta, ascending aorta, aortic arch, descending aorta. And then if this is the pulmonary trunk, that gives rise to the left pulmonary artery, bringing deoxygenated blood to the lungs. And the other side here would be the right pulmonary artery, bringing deoxygenated blood to the right lung. Coming back, then go to the lung, you come back, and you would have your right pulmonary veins bringing oxygenated blood to the heart, and that gets dumped into the left aorta, atrium, and bringing blood back from the heart, from the lungs. These two here would be your left pulmonary veins, bringing oxygenated blood also to the left atrium. Which will then go through the bicuspid valve into the left ventricle, and then up through the aortic valve and out the aorta. So that completes the terms and the anatomy for both the sheep heart and the human heart model. And so then this thin layer out here, this is the epicardium, this is the myocardium, and then the thin layer on the inside is the endocardium. Interventricular septum, just like we've seen before. There you have it. Thank you.
Okay, this is a complete review for sheep and human heart. Don't forget to go over this video 2 times, 3 times for yourself. I posted this video, and also I posted a video of Professor Imholtz on your Blackboard. Don't forget to review them. Next week on Monday, we have practice practical, and after that, on Wednesday, we will have our first lab exam. So start preparing yourself for these parts. You have endocrine system and blood. The test on blood, like blood typing and hematocrit, and after that you have human heart and sheep heart for this part of your lab exam. So start to prepare yourself for them, and let me know if you have any question on a Monday.
Excuse me, Professor.
What?
In the exam, everything will be included, right?
Everything.
On Wednesday.
Yes.
Okay.
From endocrine to the end of sheep heart.
Professor Pardo, I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, as far as the sheep, you're not really going into detail. You just needed to know the difference between sheep and human heart, correct? Which is the 2 branches, and we have 3 branches, or we do need to go a little bit more with the sheep heart?
You need to know all the structures which you saw in the video. For example, the chambers, the papillary muscle, the chorda tendineae, the valves, and the branches of the coronary artery, where is the aorta, the pulmonary trunk, superior and inferior vena cava. All of them are the same in human and sheep heart. Just the difference, which I mentioned it for you, is the branches of aortic arch. And don't forget, inside our heart is aligned by endocardium. The muscle of our heart is called myocardium, and in the outside of our heart we have epicardium. The other name of epicardium is visceral pericardium. So these are the things which you need to know about the sheep heart. And don't forget to check the other video which you have on your blackboard. Let me show you all the information for this part. Look at here. In the left side of your blackboard, you have lab content. And in the lab content, you have different lab modules. The gross and microanatomy of endocrine system, microscopic analysis of blood, selected blood test, gross and microscopic anatomy of human heart, and dissection of sheep heart. These are the parts for your lab practical 1. And in each of these modules, like the last one, you need to read chapter 4 in your lab manual. View the chapter 4 guide. Here I posted a guide for you. This guide can help you a lot. Then complete the question you have on your lab manual. Email me with your question. And here, this blue part tests your information. When you click on it, it takes you. Can you see this practice practical on the heart or not? No, you cannot see that.
The picture below, the labeling practice, we can see that.
Not this one. I will show
Okay.
you. I will show you
Okay.
that test your information later. And here is the labeling practice. This is the sheep heart. So you can write them, and next time we will work on them together. For example, here is the left side of the heart because the wall of this part is thick. So you can see, for example, the papillary muscle here. These are chorda tendini. Here you have valve, and this valve in the left side is mitral valve. This chamber is the left atrium, and here this surface is called endocardium. Here you have myocardium, and this is epicardium or visceral pericardium. So these are the different parts which you can label it for yourself, and this picture and also this one. This is the right side of the heart. And next time I will go over these pictures for you. But all of the answers of these pictures are in this guide which you have. So read it completely and then complete these pictures. And after that, you can see 2 videos. The sheep heart dissection is the video which I projected right now for you. And this sheep heart number 2 is Professor Imholt's video. So don't forget to go over all of them. You have the same things for all of your chapters. If you go, for example, to chapter 1, again, you have the PowerPoint presentation, you have test your information, which I want to show you right now. This is the PowerPoint. These are the videos of our class, and these are 2 games which can help you to understand the blood cells better, and this is the recording of the class. So you already have everything on your blackboard. Don't forget to go over them. You know that the first exam and your first grade has a great impact of you on your teacher. I cannot see you. I know some of you, but I didn't know the others. And I don't want to push you to turn on your camera. Because I know some of you have private life, some of you have kids at home, some of your husband work from home, and the other things. So I don't want you to open your camera for me. But I can know you from your first grade. So please try hard for this exam. For this exam, you need to use a Respondus lockdown browser, so you cannot do the exam with the other browsers. And during the exam, you need to turn on your camera for me, because I have a monitor, lockdown monitor, and I should see you during the exam. I should monitor you during the exam. So please try hard for the first one, and I wish you the best. If you have any question, any problem, any concern, you can email me and we can talk together and solve the problem. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and now
Yes.
the page which I want to show you is this one. For example, one of the tests, your information is like this. Here, practice lab practical on the heart. We have the practice lab practical for the blood cells also. So don't forget to check that, test your information in your lab module. And here you can see different arrows. And for example, in the question number 1A, it wants you to identify the structure by the green arrow. Okay, this is the pulmonary vein. And now if you open it, you can see the pulmonary vein here. So you already have the answers to all of the questions. And it's full of questions. You can see many questions here. And it helps you a lot and prepare you for your lab exam. Any other question? Any problem?
I have one more question.
Yes.
Is it possible for you to tell how many questions and how long for the exam?
I don't know the number of questions yet because the coordinator should make the question for all of the classes of 2060 and send it for us. But you know that when you were in campus, you have 1 minute for each question. Do you remember in each station you have 2 questions and you have 2 minutes?
Yeah, I remember that.
So we have the same here. We
Okay.
cannot have 2 questions at the same time. We have 1 question, and for each question you have 1 minute. So if you have 50 questions, you have 50 minutes. And pay attention, for your lab exam, you cannot do backtracking. It means that when you are done with question 1, you are done with that. This question cannot come again for you to think about it and to answer it. So you have 1 minute for each question, and then that question is done. And yes, you need to turn on your camera while you take the exam. So please you can place your desk, your everything you want in a very quiet place, and in the back of you it can be wall. So you can turn on your camera and I can see you with a Respondus lockdown monitor. This is the policy and we should do it.
I have one more question.
Yes.
Are we allowed to have a blank sheet and a pencil in front of us while we take the exam, since you're watching us anyway?
Yes, and
Okay.
you can have your book. Your exam is open book.
Oh.
You can have your book with you. I don't mind because you're doing the exam at home, but I should see you when you're doing the exam.
Okay. So we can have our lab manual open as we do this?
Yes, you can.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we're done, and see you at 12:30 for lecture.
Thank you, Professor.